Really quick, let's talk about the Corporate Transparency Act and BOI reporting. Now, if you're not familiar, BOI, BOI, not BOY, is the Beneficial Owner Information Reporting. And under the Corporate Transparency Act of 2021, it states that starting January 1st of 2024, that businesses that have been started or formed rather in their states, so through the Secretary of State, so if it's an LLC, if we're looking at that includes single member LLC, partnership, S Corp, corporation, um, these business entities, if they have been legally formed through the state, so Secretary of State or something similar, they now have a reporting requirement to tell who is a beneficial owner of that business. Now, this is not new for like publicly traded companies. They've had to do this. So if we look at the Corporate Transparency Act and people who are exempt from reporting, we're looking at things like financial institutions. Why? Because it's already a requirement for them to disclose this information. A lot of people are confused because they are looking and saying, oh, accounting firms, they don't have to report. Well, if you're a little pea in the pod like me, it's likely that you have to report. When we're looking at the entities that don't have to, and it says accounting firms, this is going to be your big dogs, right? So like your big four. Um, People who were affected by Sarbanes and Oxley and who have to report that type of information anyway. Nonprofits are going to be exempt, right? Because there aren't individuals that should have substantial financial interest in a nonprofit. But here's the thing with reporting the BOI, beneficial owner information, we're having this debate. And that's what I want to talk to you about. Should you, as a firm owner, help taxpayers with their BOI reporting requirement? In my opinion, I say no. And Bowens Tax Solutions will not be preparing any BOI filings with the exception of the Bowens Tax Solutions filing and the America's Favorite EA filing. But let me tell you why. So, a lot of people are just assuming when they find out about it that their accountant should be the one to help them with this. And there are even some accounting firms, CPA firms, EA firms, tax firms without a credentialed owner or preparer also believe that the professional should. For me and my firm, I have never helped anyone with setting up an LLC because an LLC is not a tax structure, it is a legal structure. Now, closely related, right? Because they're set up the same place with the Secretary of State. However, because that is a legal function and not tax function, I will help with the tax reporting, but not setting up the LLC. You guys know me. I tell you all the time, I'm gonna stay in my lane, the tax lane. I'm not doing anything a financial advisor would be doing, I'm not doing anything that an attorney should be doing when it comes to your business. Now, a lot of people, tax professionals even, will help people set up their LLC. I'm not one of them. For me, the BOI reporting, it falls into the same category as something legal, not tax related. These people are not being asked about how much they made and to calculate something for their taxes. They're asked who the beneficial owners are, so we have transparency there and nobody can hide. Now, why would they do this and why do people assume that accountants should be the one to do it? It's because this reporting has to be done to FinCEN. FinCEN is the Financial Crime Enforcement Network. So think of it this way. We have the IRS at top right here, right? Then I'm sorry, we have the Treasury Department up here at top. Then we have the IRS here and we have FinCEN here. So both departments are going to fall under the Treasury Department. So with that being said, it makes sense to me in the consumer's eye that they say, oh, Treasury Department, IRS, FinCEN, that's all you. Well, again, from my point of view, it's not. And let me share with you again, even if I did think that this was a tax thing, I probably wouldn't get into it because all of the information the client does already have, but we know that something that's straightforward, people do pay for the convenience to not have to do it. For me at Bowens Tax Solutions, I'm going to be referring them to an attorney. Now, one of the things that you have to take into consideration if you are thinking about offering this as a service or not is, will my insurance cover me if I mess up on this filing, right? You also have to take into consideration, are you doing this for people beyond your current clients? Because again, if you're going to have all of the information to do this filing for them, you're going to have all of the owner's personal identification stuff. You're going to have their driver's license. You'll know their address. You're going to need socials because all of that is supposed to be reported on the form. Now, let's say I mess this up and it's late. Are you aware of what the penalties are? So if this is not done correctly, if the taxpayer, the business owners don't comply, there are civil penalties as well as criminal penalties. And like we know with the IRS, because again, it's all under the Treasury Department, so penalties are kind of calculated the same. We have the civil penalties, and this is for, let's say it's late, different mistakes. For each day that the report is late, and this is going to be interesting because are we looking at if it's willfully late, if the taxpayer didn't know, what does that look like? As of right now, for each day that the report is late, a company could be fined up to $591 a day. So that penalty is going to accumulate quickly. Let's say that I take on the responsibility of filing someone's their BOI reporting, right, to FinCEN. With that being said, I have all this information, but somehow it goes under my radar and I miss it for 10 days. Now we're looking at a penalty of $5,091, and I'm not about to pay that out right before tax season. If I have to make a claim with my insurance, even if they do accept it and they cover that full $5,000, I'm still going to have to pay a deductible. I have great insurance. If I make a tax mistake, I only have to pay $500 for a deductible. For something like this, if my insurance doesn't cover it, I'm out of luck. I have to pay this $5,000 out of pocket. But then let's say that they do cover it. How much am I charging to do this form? Right? Because it is something legal. I am taking on responsibility for this where they could be fined substantially. So if it's my mistake, it makes sense that I would charge a lot, but when you actually look at the form and how straightforward it is, and these are questions that the client knows even without your assistance, because it's questions about their identity, is it something I charge $100 for? Well, if I only charge them $100 and I miss this filing for 10 days, and now they have this $5,000 penalty, the price that they paid me doesn't even match the deductible. So again, for me, when I'm taking this into consideration, it doesn't make sense because I've now lost money. But again, if you're looking, if this is an individual or a single member LLC, that should cost less than if we have a 15 partner partnership, right? In my opinion, because for tax forms, I do form-based pricing. So with this, if I have to add more partners, I'm just going to assume that that would cost more. So if we are looking to find a $591 a day, is that going to be per person if we're looking at a partnership? Again, so maybe I can make it make sense for the 15-member partnership. Let's say I'm charging them $1,500 and I make that mistake and I have to pay a $500 deductible. Okay, now I only have $1,000. But if I'm working with people who are much smaller and only one member or one owner, then now I've lost money and it's not worth it. What if I get sick before the year ends? We're almost to the end of the year. A lot of these are about to be due. What if I get sick and I'm sick for a month? I can't even get back to my desk till February. As of right now, I don't know about any penalty abatement for these penalties. So I have 100 people who are now 31 days late. That's going to add up fast. If I have to make an insurance claim at $500 a pop for 100 people, I'm about out of business at that point, right? So there's just something to take into consideration with criminal penalties. Let's say that this information is not filled out correctly and it's fraudulent. Is this going to be like a tax return? Like, what is my due diligence to make sure that the information that I'm getting from the client is correct? We know that if we knowingly file fraudulent returns, that the IRS can get the client and they can come get us. I'm not serving jail time for anybody, all right? And that's why I tell people, like, I have to sign this, homie. If this looks fishy, I'm not signing it. I'm not e-filing it. We need to get it together. You need to find somebody else to do it. Same thing in this situation. If you are going to be offering the service to people who are not your clients and you really don't know about the business, how much faith can you have in sending this document on their behalf? What checks and balances are there right now to make sure that you actually did do your due diligence? So if this is a fraudulent reporting, you're not held liable for it as well. Because check this out, a company owner could face up to 2 years, not one, not 18 months, not a week, not a day, 2 years in prison and a fine up to $10,000 for willful violations. Again, we're talking about the company owner, them being fraudulent, them not giving all their information. But if you're submitting it on their behalf, where does that leave you? Right? With forms like the 1040 and you're preparing taxes, we have our prepare due diligence. We know what things you're supposed to ask and what things you need to provide to say, hey, I did authentic, you guys know I'm not cutting that out. I did go through and I verified their identity. I did ask them questions to actually confirm that they're head of household. I did ask the right questions and documented it to show that they did actually have a business. They were actually doing this with the intent of making money. But what are those things for the BOI reporting to make sure that you're required? So if you're doing it, should you only do it for your book of business? Or should you extend the service to other people's businesses because they're enrolled agents that are like me and it's like, get somebody else to do it? Those are the types of things that you have to take into consideration if you are going to be doing this for your clients. Or you can be like me, Timalyn Bowens, America's favorite EA, and tell these folks, get somebody else to do it because this is a legal, I would say document. A tax return is too, but this is within the legal realm, not within the tax realm, so I'm not going to deal with it. If you enjoyed this, if you have questions for me, if you want to tell me why you're doing it and why I should too, let me know down in the comments. But let me first leave you with this. If you're an enrolled agent and you were starting your firm and you're wondering about what type of services to offer, for example, the BOI reporting, or if you're looking at tax preparation, tax representation, you just want to make sure that you're running your firm right. Down below in the description, I have a link for you to join my community, How to Start an Enrolled Agent Firm. In that community, we discuss these types of things and what you can do to build your clientele, what you can do to offer different services, and I have weekly trainings right here on YouTube, and I hope to see you at the next one. Have an amazing night.